Dear learners, today let us examine Rudyard Kipling's brilliant novel Kim. The novel Kim is one of the most popular novels of the 20th century, which is set in India. The novel describes the adventures of the young Kimball O'Hara or Kim, who is an Irish boy in India. Kim goes on to play the role of a spy as the action in the novel happens between the Second and the Third Afghan War. The novel throws light on the issues of identity, and the action is set against the great game which was played between Russia and England in Central Asia. Joseph Rudyard Kipling, an Indian-born Anglican writer, was born on 30th December 1865 in the city of Bombay in India. He died on the 20th of January 1936 in Burwash, Sussex, England. He is one of the most widely read British authors of the 20th century. Kipling was born in Bombay to Lockwood Kipling and Alice Kipling. Lockwood Kipling was an art expert who held offices in the art colleges of Bombay and Lahore. Rudyard enjoyed immensely his stay in India. Throughout his life, he remained nostalgic for his childhood years spent in India in the company of Portuguese ayahs and nannies. At the age of 5, Rudyard was sent away to England to stay at a boarding school in Southsea, Portsmouth in England. Rudyard, along with his sister, spent 6 years in the boarding school, which consisted of white children whose parents were employed in India, and it was run by a couple. Rudyard found his stay in the school extremely torturous. At the age of 13, Rudyard was admitted to the United Service College, which specialized in training boys for a career in the armed forces. Kipling, as the psychologist Ashish Nandi pointed out, was neither athletic nor masculine. He initially had trouble adjusting to the environs of an all-boys school, but soon made thick friends. His experience in the school enabled him to author the stories which were compiled and published as Stocky and Co. Kipling was unable to procure a fellowship to attend the Oxford University, an education his parents could not afford to pay for. Kipling returned to India and worked as a reporter for the Lahore-based Civil and Military Gazette, which was a sister concern of the Allahabad-based The Pioneer. In India, Kipling spent his summers in Simla, which was then the capital of British Raj. He loved the town, and on his annual visits he wrote prolifically. The town rejuvenated him and was instrumental in him publishing Plain Tales from the Hills, 3. The Story of Gadsby's, In Black and White, Under the Deodars, The Phantom Rickshaw, Wee Willie Winkie, and From Sea to Sea, and other sketches, lectures of travel. Kipling left India in 1889 and travelled to England. In the same year, he left for the United States of America and undertook a long journey through the length and the breadth of the great country. He was married in England and settled in the state of Vermont, USA. Kipling found the US immensely comfortable and was intending to settle down there. He wrote the popularly acclaimed Jungle Book, the novels Captain Courageous, A Day's Work, a short story collection, and a poetry collection termed Barrack Rooms Ballads, which contain the acclaimed poems Ganga Din and Mandalay. Kipling returned along with his family to England in 1896. Initially, he lived in Devon, but in 1896 he moved to rural Burwash in East Sussex. By 1897, Kipling was already a popular writer and he penned the legendary poems Recessional and in 1897 The White Man's Burden. Kipling travelled to South Africa every year and was beginning to emerge as the poet of the British Empire. In 1901, Kipling published his magnum opus, Kim. The novel was very well received and Kipling was recognized as a literary genius. In 1907, Kipling was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. At the age of 42 years, Kipling was both the youngest author to have ever received the Nobel Prize and was also the first British citizen who had received the prize for literature. However, Kipling was supportive of the First World War. In fact, he encouraged his son John Kipling to join the British forces. In 1915, John Kipling, who was still a teenager, died. Kipling was devastated. In his later years, Kipling continued to produce masterpieces such as If, a poem which continues to be popular even today, and a novella, The Man Who Could Be King. Kipling sided with the conservatives and harbored a deep suspicion of Bolshevism. Yet, post-end of the World War, he supported France. He foresaw the rise of Germany and Italy as fascist states. Till his death in 1936, Kipling constantly warned of the perils of Nazism. In 1936, Kipling, who was 70, underwent a surgery and could not recover and passed away. Today, though acclaimed for his artistic merits, Kipling continues to divide opinions. Many critics consider him a colonial writer who was sympathetic to the causes of imperialism. We have already noticed earlier that Kipling spent a considerable part of his youth in the subcontinent. He was familiar with the cities of Bombay, where he was born, Simla, the summer capital, where he spent his annual summers, Lahore and Allahabad. The novel was published in 1901 and Kipling spent considerable time planning and writing the novel. He had earlier published The Jungle Book, which he completed while he was staying in Vermont. By the end of the 19th century, England realized that Russia was interested in acquiring colonies in Central Asia and South Asia. England wanted to protect its interests in India and was bent on retaining its holds over Iran and Afghanistan. Russia and England used every trick in the book to cut down the influence of the other. Though Russia and England never waged a direct war, they used espionage, indirect military confrontations, and aiding the enemy's enemy forces on several fronts as a means of controlling each other. The half a century stalemate was called the Great Game. A number of natives and whites were used by the British to spy on the northwestern frontier of British India. By the number of Anglo-Indians, given that English were present in India for close to 200 years, who were born and grew up in India, also increased. Kipling's family considered themselves to be Anglo-Indians. In many cases, the children of Anglo-Indian families had a crisis of identity. For them, home meant India, but they were often marked out amidst the dark natives. Often, the whites, particularly of the lower classes, exposed to the harsh Indian weather, became dark-skinned. These two themes of the Great Game and of identity crisis form the background to the text. Rudyard Kipling's Kim is a large novel which is spread over 15 chapters. The novel begins with the description of an Irish boy who was orphaned in Lahore. Kim, or Kimball O'Hara, lives with a woman who runs an opium den. His father was a soldier in the Irish regiment. Kim wears an amulet round his neck which contains his certificates to prove his identity. Kim has become dark and his skin color is not different from that of a native. He easily fits into the crowd and is familiar with the town and is called the friend of all. Kim works for Mahbub Ali, a horse trader who is also a spy for the British. Kim befriends a Tibetan Lama who is in search of a mystical river. The chela of the Lama has died and Kim agrees to assist the holy man in his journey. Before leaving the town, Kim meets Mahbub Ali and the trader hands over a cryptic message to him. Kim is supposed to deliver the message to an army man in Ambala. The Lama and Kim undertake a train journey during which they meet various kinds of people. The duo reach Ambala and Kim delivers the message to the soldiers. Kim overhears the soldiers talk about an impending war and comprehends that Mahbub Ali is a part of a spy network. On the outskirts of Ambala, Kim pretends that he is a prophet and states that a war is soon going to break out on the northwest frontier. An old native former soldier questions Kim about his prophecy. Kim, who has already seen the army camp at Ambala, depicts the scene accurately. The soldier respects Kim and accompanies Lama and Kim on their further journey. Soon the trio reach the Grand Trunk Road, the arterial highway of imperial India. Kipling paints a vivid picture of Indian life as he describes the living style, dress and manners of an Indian farmer, headmaster, a Kulu-based widow. The Grand Trunk Road opens up Kim's eyes to the diversity of India as the young boy sees Sikhs, Muslims, natives, soldiers, peasants and travelers of diverse kinds. In the 5th chapter of the novel, a massive twist occurs. One day, a tired Lama and Kim rest on the Grand Trunk Road. Kim sees an English regiment which is symbolized by a green flag and a red bull. As a young boy, Kim was told that his father served in the same regiment. An excited Kim sneaks into the camp and is caught by the Protestant chaplain, Reverend Bennett. Bennett searches Kim's person and discovers that he is indeed not a native urchin, but is actually Kimball O'Hara, the son of a white Irish soldier. The Catholic chaplain, Father Victor, is also present. The two ministers decide that Kim should not be allowed to assist the Lama and detain him in the camp. The Lama decides to place Kim under the ward of the ministers and continues his search. Kim is placed under the direct supervision of a drummer boy, a white, loutish fellow. The drummer boy is young and is very dismissive of the natives. He regards Kim as a native and ill-treats him. Kim, who has already sent a letter to Mahbub Ali, feels sorry for abandoning the Lama. Mahbub Ali reaches the camp and is overjoyed to meet Kim. He tells Kim that he should live like a white man and exploit the chance of living a comfortable life. He reasons that Once a Sahib, always a Sahib. The two ministers decide to educate Kim in a school meant for the English boys. Meanwhile, Sergeant Creighton, to whom Kim has delivered a message, arrives at the camp. He is very impressed with Kim and takes Kim to St. Xavier's School in Lucknow. Creighton is interested in roping Kim into the spy network. It is revealed that Lama, who is now residing in Benares, has agreed to pay for Kim's education. Thus, Kim has become a Sahib and is en route to a solid education in one of the most respected schools in India. He has already made good friends with men like Mahbub Ali, Sergeant Crichton, the old Lama, and the ministers in the army regiment. Kim spent an uneventful first year at St. Xavier's. He is a bright boy. During the vacation, discounting the advice of Crichton, Kim dons the attire of a Hindu beggar and joins the team of Mahbub Ali and is inducted into an espionage network that is protecting the British interests in the Great Game. The Great Game, which we have discussed earlier, is depicted in detail in the book. One day, Kim overhears two men plotting to kill Mahbub Ali. He reports the matter to Ali and saves Ali's life. Ali feels grateful to Kim. Under the orders of Crichton, Kim is trained to emerge as a key man in the chain of spy network. He is sent to work with Rudyard Sahib, who trains Kim in mind games, observation and hypnotism. Kim is also trained under Hari Chandar Mukherjee, a Bengali who is also a key chain man in the network. During the second year at school, Kim distinguishes himself as a brilliant student. He spends the summer break with Mahbub Ali and the winter vacation working with Lurgan Sahib. On Kim completing his third year at school, Lurgan Sahib and Mukherjee vouch that he is ready to join the network. Crichton agrees to allow Kim into the network. Kim is taken to Hunifa, a blind prostitute who trains him in the art of disguising and puts him under a spell of protection. Mukherjee trains Kim on the methods to identify the rival spies and differentiate his own members from rival networks. Kim is disguised as a young Buddhist monk and is let into the world. In the 11th and the 12th chapters, we find Kim questioning his own identity. He was born a Sahib, raised a native urchin, educated as a Sahib, and is finally dressed as a monk. He seeks out the Lama. In the quest for the Lama, he saves a fellow spy from the rival network by quickly disguising him. The Lama witnesses the transformation and begins to believe that Kim has acquired magical powers. Kim is then sent to intercept two spies, one a Russian and other a French man, who are carrying a few documents on them. Kim travels northwards and arrives at the town of Kulu. He chances upon the Lama at the house of the widow whom they had earlier met. Kim disguises himself and suggests to the Lama that they travel onto the mountains. Mukherjee disguises himself as a travel guide and joins the rival spies. An incident occurs that almost blows up the cover of Kim. The Russian spies chance upon Kim and Lama and ask the Lama to part with the wheel of time. When the Lama refuses to part with the wheel of time, the Russian attacks him. Kim and the associates of Lama beat up the spies and confiscate their luggage. Kim appeals to the attenders and confiscates the documents and hands them over to Mukherjee. Kim then moves to Kulu, where he collapses due to fever. In the closing chapters of the book, Kim recuperates and moves down to join the Lama. Post his fever, he is relieved of the burdens of the documents, but he suffers a serious identity crisis. He keeps questioning, who was Kim? Who am I? And am I Kim? The Lama is troubled by all the action, realizes that he is also attached to the world. He realizes that he needs to disassociate himself from the quest for the river. He claims to have gained enlightenment and released his soul. However, his soul came back to him for the sake of Kim. The novel Kim is replete with many characters. Besides Kimbalohara or Kim, who is the picaresque hero of the novel, the main characters of Kim include a monk, the Lama, who is constantly seeking to dissociate himself from the world, a native horse tradesman who doubles as a spy named Mahbub Ali, a psychological expert who is adept at training spies, Lungar Sahib, the colorful, effeminate Bengali spy Mukherjee, the smart surgeon Crichton, and the kind-hearted white chaplains who are instrumental in admitting Kim in the St. Xavier School. Besides these characters, there are also a host of important minor characters in the novel. They include the old woman in Lahore who sells opium, the rich widow from Kulu, the sorceress Hanifa who also acts as a makeup woman, the drummer boy who bullies Kim, and the assistant of Lungar Sahib. Kim depicts an Oriental's image of the subcontinent. The author celebrates the diversity of India, but the characters such as the drummer boy depict the imperialist view of India. India is portrayed as a noisy and dusty land which is crowded with effeminate and vile men. Lahore is portrayed as a city of vices and opium. Mahbub Sahib represents the brown Sahib, and his statement, once a Sahib, always a Sahib, betrays the native's view of Sahib. The change in the chaplain's views when they realize that Kim is not a native urchin betray the colonialist attitude. They state that Kim, a white boy, should not be allowed to assist a native Lama. Incidents such as these vindicate the claim that Kim is a colonial novel. The novel also depicts the crisis of identity amidst the English in India. Given the nature of his upbringing and his vocation, Kim undergoes a serious challenge to his identity. He repeatedly asks himself, what is Kim and who is Kim? The novel demonstrates that identities are very fluid. Dear learners, we have come to the end of the lesson Kim. I trust that you enjoyed the lesson. I hope that you would be inspired to take up reading the novel in its original form. Thank you.